Olivia Marsh is the sister of Daniel of New Jeans, and she's a soloist. So she released an album, and one of the songs in the album is Backseat. She is signed under Amplify. Okay, I think that's how they pronounce it, Amplify. Okay, so now one of the songs is Backseat. That's the title. And then this singer, Dunbar is his handle. Isaac, sorry, the last name, Isaac Dunbar is the name. Said that it's eerily similar to his song, Onion Boy. And he composed it, he wrote it when he was 17. And now they swiped it, they copied it and turned it into Backseat. Okay, so there's like an uproar. So talkies were attacking him, like, why are you accusing her of copying you? Who are you? Blah blah blah. Okay, so now when that was released, when he released that statement on social media, the label of Olivia Marsh released a statement saying that they are aware of the concerns raised regarding Backseat and allegations of plagiarism, and we take this matter seriously, blah blah blah. And they said that they will investigate. So for several days, nothing. It was just radio silence for several days. And then, so though, for those of you asking, by the way, who is Amplify, it is a label under Warner Music, and they signed Olivia Marsh as their first featured artist. So it's like an independent label, not independent. It's a owned by Warner Music, but they operate primarily in South Korea. Okay, so that's what Amplify is. And then after several days, they released a statement admitting that Isaac Dunbar's claims have grounds. So it has merits, is what they called it. And so they apologized and they said that they are now um, making a deal with Isaac Dunbar for copyright sharing. So they're going to split the copyright, the residuals, with Isaac Dunbar. All right. And then Olivia published a chat. So she messaged, well, Isaac Dunbar first messaged her and then radio silence. I guess she was instructed to not talk until they are actually able to settle the case. So after that, Olivia responded to him and apologized and said that she did not know about the song. She said that she didn't know that when she got the song. So apparently she got the song and then she's credited as a songwriter in the album, in the song. And she said that apparently from her tone, it seems that she got the beat and the melody. And she did not know that it was a copy of something else. So she apologized and that was it. Okay. So now let's just try to understand. So obviously, the label owned up to it. She owned up to it to a certain degree. She owned up to it to a certain degree. So they did say that moving forward, they're going to be more careful before they release any song. But let's just pull back and try to understand the difference between plagiarism, copying, or copyright infringement, and taking inspiration. Because Fire Butterfly is asking, did she write lyrics for the melody or the melody? It's not clear. She definitely wrote the lyrics, or at least co-wrote the lyrics, but it's not clear if she's also claiming melody and beats. She's just under the composition. Her name is credited as a composer. That's so, it's not clear. All right. Okay, so let's just understand the difference, because especially nowadays, the word plagiarism is being thrown around like it's just like it's nothing. That it has essentially lost its meaning because people keep on using it the wrong way. It has lost its sanctity for artists. So that for people who don't know, for artists, that's kind of a sacred thing for artists, for any creator. it's a sacred thing because it's art. You created that. That came from you. As you know, if you're an artist, I know you would know that a part of you goes into your art, right? So if somebody swipes what you did, then that's like stealing a certain part of who you are. All right. So now, because of fan wars, because of miseducation and all of those stuff, it's being thrown around like it's nothing, that it has lost the essence of what it actually means. So let's try to understand what it actually is. Okay. Actually, plagiarism is a ethical violation, not necessarily illegal. A lot of people think that plagiarism is a legal matter. It isn't. It's actually an ethical matter. It can have legal repercussions. So plagiarism is presenting someone else's work as your own without proper credit. So if I publish a poem and it was a copy of somebody else's poem and failed to tell people that I was somebody else's poem, that's plagiarism. It's an ethical offense, but it's not necessarily a legal one. Okay. Now, I am sure you know this, but the one example of this would be the dance the dance routines that were copied by new jeans from other routines and from other acts, right? So that's an ethical violation, right? It's an ethical violation, but it isn't necessarily a legal violation. It's an ethical violation, especially because they pass it on as if it was theirs and started accusing other people of being copies. But the truth is that they also copied, and when they got caught, the director actually admitted that they did copy or something like that. So it's an ethical violation, but because a dance step cannot be copyrighted, it's not a legal violation. All right. So a copyright, everything that I'm going to say, you can actually get from the copyright law of the United States handbook. And this is something that we studied heavily because if you're in the media industry, that's what you do. You have to know this. Okay, so plagiarism in music is typically determined based on substantial similarity between two works, whether or not there is intention. So it doesn't matter whether you intended to copy or not, whether it is coincidence or not, for as long as there is substantial similarity, that is plagiarism. Okay. So tricky thing. Okay, so how do you know when there is plagiarism, when there is copyright infringement, which is the legal term? When there is one substantial similarity, courts and musicologists, for example, analyze whether the copied work is substantially similar to the original, focusing on melody, harmony, rhythm, structure, and lyrics. So, lyrics is the easiest to actually determine, although not straightforward as well. But it's easier. But for example, for melody, if you twist it a little bit, that's already different. But if they can get experts, courts and musicologists, these are experts, and they will determine if the rhythm, the harmony, the melody, and the structure are the same. Next is, oh, sorry. So this is based on US Code 107. This section grants copyright holders exclusive rights, including reproduction, derivative works, and public performance. So this is where it is based. Now, one example of that is one way to, and then, sorry. So the other thing is access to original work. So even if there is substantial similarity between two songs, you still need to prove that the person who supposedly copied had access to your work. If it is just similar, but you can't prove that the other person could have possibly heard your work, then that's not plagiarism. You still need to prove that I had access, or whoever copied had access to the original work. Okay. So one example of that is the Isley brother. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. They sued Michael Bolton for a song, and I can't remember the title of the song. So Michael Bolton said that they initially his defense is that I didn't have, because the song is substantially the same. So according to experts, according to musicologists, they um they the two songs are very, very similar. But Michael Bolton was insisting I there was no way I could have had the access to the song. So it's not possible that I plagiarized it because I never heard the song before. I have never heard the song before, or I've never had any access to this before. Okay. There is also a case called unconscious copying. So again, this is when just because you didn't have access doesn't mean you did not plagiarize. Okay. If there is substantial similarity between the two, even if you can prove that you have never heard the song before, but they are similar, substantially similar, that is still called plagiarism. One example is George Harrison's My Sweet Lord. George Harrison was able to explain and prove, I have never heard of your song before, and this is the process of the development of my work. But the court said, yeah, but they're still substantially the same thing. You were able to prove that you've never had any access to their work, but it is substantially the same. So he was still asked to pay a fine. Okay. So that's unconscious copying. And that is based on US Code 102A. Okay. Um, So, in this case of the Isley brother versus Michael Bolton was actually made to pay 5.4 million in damages, and the Court of Appeals upheld the decision. Okay, so he won the case. The Isley brothers actually won the case, even though Michael Bolton was able to prove that he couldn't have had access to the work. Now, some other cases of plagiarism. Again, remember, plagiarism doesn't necessarily have any kind of legal ramifications. It can have legal consequence, but copyright infringement is the legal term. All right. So in Espa's case, it was a huge uproar because the original, their Black Mamba, their very first single, the visual was a black mamba, no, a snake in a train, and an artist actually published his work on his or her Instagram several months before, and it was the exact same concept. It was a snake in a train, and then the other image was butterfly in a train, or butterflies in a train. So people went to the Instagram of the original artist and called his attention. And then the original artist said that, I received many messages. They didn't ask me. So it seems that they copied. That's what he said. Now, what SM Entertainment, was called the artist. And it was actually a good statement, because they said that in their statement after they called the artist, they said that they did not that they explained to the original artist their process of creating, and that the original artist has no objection towards what they have done. So that wasn't really clear on what they did, but that's what they said. Okay. And then another case of plagiarism is New Jeans and Jeans. So there are very strong similarities, substantial similarities between the visual. They copied the font, they copied the dance steps, the lighting, the entire idea, from Jeans. But because Jeans does not hold any kind of copyright, uh, any copyright over these things, then there is no legal ramification or legal consequence for their plagiarism. Again, plagiarism is the ethical violation, copyright infringement is the legal violation. The ethical violation can have legal ramifications if they have legal ownership of that thing that is being copied. For Jeans, they did not have any legal ownership of this entire thing, so they couldn't sue. Okay. These are some more similarities, things that New Jeans copied from Jeans, and then they copied from other groups as well. The other thing that we need to consider when it comes to music, allegedly, not allegedly, this is proven. As much as we think there's endless possibilities in music, it isn't. So, someone actually made a sequence of 12 musical notes, all the combinations that you can make out of the 12 musical notes played in a row, right? So, there are 12 musical notes, right? So, what this there are two guys, and what they did is they asked the computer to generate all possible combinations of those 12 musical notes. So and they when they did that in one octave, so without repetition, and it resulted to 12 to 68.7 billion different combinations. So that's still a lot, but there's also a lot of people who are making music. So essentially, what this means is that no matter what kind of combination you create within that 12 musical note, it's already been made. Someone already generated that, it's already there. So no matter how original you think you are, you're not, because that a computer already generated all possible combinations. So that is why it is very hard to prove that you are an original, but also hard to prove that you're copying, because no matter what you have done, it's already a copy, because it's already been generated 68.7 billion different combinations. Okay, so that is just to give us some perspective on what happened to Olivia Marsh. So it is very possible that she really was not aware that the song that was given to her was a copy of something else. It shows that while melodies seems infinite, they are mathematically limited. It's a lot, 62 billion, but it's still limited. That's why some songs sound similar and why copyright cases in music can be tricky. Many melodies may be repeated unintentionally. Okay. So all right. So those are just, I wanted to okay. So copying is a legal violation. Taking inspiration is, that's ethical, and you don't have any legal responsibility over it. There is no legal ramification because you're just taking inspiration. um Anybody, for example, um who what is a perfect example? Oh, for example, J Hope, he took inspiration from Cole World, J Cole World, right? So because, and he was very open about it because that's his idol. So he, from the beginning, he already mentioned it. Everyone knows that he really likes J Cole. So that is an example of an inspiration. So he took that same concept of creating an alternative world, and then he created his own. It's an idea that he took inspiration from, and then he created his, that is entirely his. Another would be Jimin's taking inspiration from Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. He was very open about the fact that it inspired him to sort of create a separate band. That's why he has his own band. That's where he was inspired from. But he didn't copy Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. He created his own. So that's ethical. You're taking inspiration from something, but you're not copying it. Okay. So now for Olivia, um, it is good that she admitted that. I mean, it's pretty useless to deny it anyway, because it's so obvious that it was a copy. The similarities were striking. So it's good that she admitted, she came forward, she apologized to the original artist. Second is that I hope we don't, let's stop using and mentioning her in her in relation to her sister, Danielle of New Jeans. She has nothing to do with that, with her sister and whatever her sister is going through. I mean, sure, she may be supporting her sister. She may be and that's natural because they are sisters. She may be expressing some strong opinions about it, but publicly she has never said anything about the entire case, not against BTS, not against Lesser Earth, and nobody. So let's not involve her in whatever issue armies are taking against her sister. Third, even though her parents were involved in this entire adore thing, it still doesn't mean that the sin is transferred to her, right? She's still a different person. She is her own person, and we need to respect that. Um, that being said, this is a lesson to everybody else. Um, and I may be speaking to the choir here, but this is just, it goes to show just how groundless and baseless plagiarism accusations are, right? Because this is a straight up copy. So perfectly copied that I think the only difference is that they put in some instruments to make it seem different, and then they change the lyrics, but everything else is an exact copy. But for people to still forgive this means that all the other accusations that other people are raising against it, Le Seraphim, whoever, are even more baseless. Because that's like similar hair, or whatever. And this is like an entire song that you that you swiped. So it's just, it goes to show, it demonstrates just how ridiculous these discussions are about copying. I've been hearing about, oh, he copied the font, he copied the color, they copied the color. And it's like, this is an entire song that was swiped, and people are just like, okay, that's just how it is. And you're talking about similarities in color, in fonts, and whatever. It's just so unreasonable. So, and yes, I do agree. So Celeste is saying that it's not about plagiarism, it's about hate. Yes, absolutely. But for we always have to take no, it is kind of irritating, but the truth is that we do need to take the higher road, right? Primarily because we're we're supporting BTS, and BTS is such a class act, right? So if we ever want to prove that we're actually living their values and their message, we need to behave the way that they behave, and they behave with class. So we just need to take the high road, no matter how much it sucks, because it does suck. It sucks to take the high road. Sometimes it's kind of just, especially if you can do if you have a gotcha moment, it's so tempting to just respond. But at the end of the day, you have to think about, okay, but which artist am I really admiring? Which artist am I claiming to love the message of? And that is BTS. And they were never about bullying, they were never about petty quarrels, they were always about deeper message. And so we just need to copy, we need to take after them, basically.